In today's video, I wanted to do a little update. Since we are right at the beginning of 2024, I thought it would be fun to recap some of the headlines in photography news from late 2023 and talk about what's yet to come in 2024. I'll discuss new tech, new trends, and some of my own personal predictions for what we can expect to see this year. So, jumping right into the first section, let's talk about new tech. The big headline for this year, and late last year, of course, is the Sony A9 III. Now, I'm not a Sony girl. I'm not a tech girl, really. But I recently had the opportunity to test out the A9 III, and oh my god, it blew my mind. Sports photographers are gonna lose their minds over this technology. It has 120 frames per second continuous shooting, a maximum shutter speed of 1/80,000 per second, thousand, and an incredibly advanced autofocus tracking system. Like, seriously, it locks onto an eyeball and then you can move the camera around any which way and it'll keep that eyeball locked on in frame. Very cool. The thing that really made headlines about the A9 III, however, was its global shutter. This new technology means that the sensor is read all at once as the light comes in, unlike the now standard rolling shutter, which reads the sensor very quickly in a scan. This technology is going to eliminate distortion from rapidly moving objects caused by the rolling shutter, as well as banding from different light sources. It also enables flash sync at any shutter speed, which I had to read that a couple times because I almost didn't believe it. I'd like to give a shout out to Tom Gould for inviting me on set and giving me the opportunity to grab some shots with this new technology. We were shooting with flash at 1/12,000th of a second, which was a pretty novel experience for me. So it seems that Sony has really blown its competition out of the water with this global shutter technology. Recent reports claim that Nikon intends to release a new version of the Z9 before next year's Olympic Games. This is obviously something that's meant to entice sports photographers. There are rumors that it might have a global shutter, but I find this very unlikely. Sony actually manufactures the sensors that are in Nikon cameras, and it seems really unlikely to me that they would be willing to share this technology with their direct competitors so soon. I think it'll be quite a while before we see widespread adoption of this technology. I suspect it'll be around mid-2026 when everyone starts recommending that you upgrade to the global shutter. And you're gonna wonder how they're affording it, but they're not, they're in debt. So you wait until 2028 when it gets a bit cheaper, but by then something new has come out and the global shutter is now obsolete. And the new thing is $9,000 and it's only offered by Sony. And even though it's 2028, all of your lenses in kit are in Nikon, and that is why I am not a tech girl, usually. Maybe I'm showing my film forward side here, but I think we should switch tracks and talk about news in a much more consumer-friendly genre of photography: instant film. Instax. Okay, so this one is admittedly more of a prediction than a rumor, but I feel pretty confident that Instax will release an Instax Wide Evo in 2024. We have the Instax Link Wide printer already on the market, which is basically an Instax Evo sans lens and sensor. So they've already adapted the technology to suit the wide-sized print. We haven't had a new Instax Wide camera since 2015, so it's been almost 10 years since they updated this line. At this point, they're basically manufacturing the Instax Wide film just for the printers, which seems silly. So I'm locking in my prediction. Instax Wide Evo, we're seeing it in 2024, and I suspect it will be out sometime in July so that they can overcome any supply chain issues and ensure that it is on shelves and in stock by September, which is usually when all of the photography shows start to happen. Speaking of instant film, we also have some news from Polaroid to recap from late 2023, and that is the launch of the Polaroid i2. If you found my channel through my Instax Evo review video, you might want to avert your eyes because this camera gives me the same primal sense of desire that the Instax Evo gave me. And as somebody with very poor impulse control when it comes to film photography related equipment, the only thing stopping me from buying this right now is the 700 Canadian dollar price tag. If you haven't heard about it, this is a Polaroid camera intended for professional use. It has fully manual controls, the sharpest lens ever on a Polaroid, and it can be used with external flashes. I'm gonna cry. I would love to see that price point come down in the next few months. It probably won't, but I hope that at some point they release a more budget-friendly version that is still compatible with off-camera flashes, because oh my god, revolutionary technology. So that is all of the instant film photography news I have. I do have a little update on regular film photography though, and it is related to Fujifilm and their production of color film stocks. Recently, I made a short talking about color film manufacturers, and I stated that we only have 3 color film manufacturers left in the world. 2 commenters reminded me about Fujifilm, which I had intentionally omitted. See, back in 2020, Fujifilm announced that they had halted production. This was after a few years of discontinuing fan-favorite film stocks left and right, leading to rumors that they had actually stopped production a while ago and were selling off their existing backstock. Recently, the rolls of Fujifilm found on the shelves in North America have been labeled Made in the USA, and the datasheets for Fujifilm 200 and Kodak Gold 200 are identical. So I thought Fuji was a thing of the past, but some of the comments on that short prompted me to look into it. Over on r/analog community, people have been posting pictures of rolls marked Made in Japan with expiry dates that indicate the film is actually fairly fresh. This, in addition to a bulletin from Fujifilm in Japanese, indicates that production has likely resumed. This is really exciting news for the color film community. I am going to be going to Japan next month, and I will pick up as many rolls of Fujifilm as I can fit in my travel case. I'll report back to you on whether or not the new rolls are up to the standards historically set by the brand. That concludes the section of this video in which I talk about tech news and photography brand updates. In the next section, I want to talk about photography trends. What's in, what's out, what's dated, what's new, and what can we expect from the coming year. I'm going to start this section off with a controversial statement. Bokeh is out. Listen. Bokeh may still be popular among wedding and event photographers, natural light shooters, and Times Square tourist trap hustlers. But it's been a hot minute since I've seen it prominent in any kind of commercial work or professional setting. Even photography influencers are moving away from the f1.8 bokeh backdrop look. The style was super popular from around 2013 to 2018, but I think the photojournalist trend of 2019 and the subsequent documentary style that became popular from 2020 and onward have successfully overpowered bokeh on our Instagram homepages. Part of this may be that phonography is becoming increasingly popular now that smartphones are coming equipped with very sophisticated cameras. But one thing that phones don't do very well is bokeh. I suspect that bokeh will come back around by the end of the 2020s. People will grow tired of seeing these crystal sharp, high-definition images that can be overwhelming to the eyes when done poorly, and they'll long for the nostalgic look of the early 2010s. But until then, bokeh is dead. And speaking of growing tired of high-definition images, another topic I covered in a short video is the rise of blurry photos. I may or may not have a video essay on this topic cooking. I saw the blur trend mentioned on like 6 different photography forums last week, and any trend with this much backlash is certainly poised to take off. It is no longer a rare skill to take tack-sharp images. Anyone with a smartphone can do it. So now the skill is taking blurry photos on purpose. You know the intentionally messy hair trend that was popular in the late 2000s and early 2010s? Think about that energy, but for photography. I think we'll see a few cool iterations on this trend in the next 5 years, but certainly 2024 is going to be the year that photographers become aware of this trend and start capitalizing on it. I guarantee that if you're a photographer, you're gonna see a reel about the blurry photos trend before the end of January. The final set of photography trends I want to talk about is related to AI. I have a constellation of thoughts about how AI is related to the blurry photo trend that I'll talk about in next week's video essay. But for now, I want to focus on AI's relationship with color. I want to delve into this a bit further, but to summarize briefly, it seems like AI uses color in very mathematical ways. There is generally a contrasting color palette, with one color being particularly bright and its opposite being a more muted shade. In AI-generated fashion imagery, the colors seem hypersaturated and often follow either a contrasting or a triadic color palette. The outfit will be one color and the background will be its opposite. If the outfit and backdrop are both the same color, the image is monochromatic, then the skin tone of the model will often be tinted to contrast it. I think that we're going to see this mechanical use of color making its way into mainstream fashion photography in 2024. Right now, we see a lot of muted tones in mainstream fashion photography. The fashion itself is very bright, but the backgrounds are generally white or gray or greige or pistachio. We see a lot of black and white editorials, dingy gray skies, brown sepia-inspired toning, and I think all of that is on its way out. Publications like Vogue have been under fire recently for frankly boring photographs. I mean, these are boring. I'm bored by this. And with this vibrant, colorful world of AI-generated images making its way onto our homepages, I think that's really gonna have an impact on how these magazines choose to use color. I think we'll start to see bright, contrasting colors and a more intentional incorporation of contrasting and triadic color palettes make its way back into the glossy pages in 2024. So that is all of the photography-related news, trends, speculation that I wanted to share with you today. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, do leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to my channel. You can also click on the Buy Me a Coffee link to send me $5 and help support the channel directly. I would really appreciate anyone who considers this. All of the money raised on that platform will go directly back into the channel, into new equipment, into new film for me to review, gear for me to test out, etc. So your contributions will help me make better content, and I super appreciate anybody who considers this. I'll see you guys next week with a new photography-related video, and in the meantime, I want you guys to stay sharp and don't forget to keep shooting. Bye, guys.